All right, so this is a love poem by Pablo Neruda. And I will read it in English, in an English translation. Entitled, Your Hands. When your hands go out, love, toward mine, what do they bring me flying? Why did they stop at my mouth suddenly? Why do I recognize them as if then, before I had touched them? As if before they existed, they had passed over my forehead, my waist? Their softness came flying over time, over the sea, over the smoke, over the spring. And when you placed your hands on my chest, I recognized those golden dove wings. I recognized that clay and that color of wheat. All the years of my life, I walked around looking for them. I went up the stairs. I crossed the roads. Trains carried me. Waters brought me. And in the skin of the grapes, I thought I touched you. The wind suddenly brought me your touch. The almond announced me to your secret softness until your hands closed on my chest. And there, like two wings, they ended their journey. So we're the Fairmount String Quartet, and we have come this evening, and thank you very much for having us. And the piece that we'd like to play for you to begin this musical soiree is a piece written by the American composer Lou Harrison. Lou Harrison was born in 1917 in Portland, Oregon, but he had a very varied life, and the piece that we're playing for you this evening, his string quartet set, was written in 1978, 79, closer to the end of his life. Thank you. He was a composer. As a young man, he was very interested in the period of music called the Renaissance and medieval music. And so in this piece, you'll hear a lot of those kinds of thematic material. In fact, in the first movement, he based this first movement on a medieval tune from a composer by the name, a German bardic poet by the name of Walter von der Vogelweide, Walter von Birdfields. And interestingly enough, this week I played a Facebook challenge that said, "What composer are you?" And when I filled in the answers to the questionnaire, it came up with Walter von der Vogelweide. So there you go, Walter, this one's for you. It is one of this first movement that Harrison composed. It's called, the melody is Song of Palestine. It's one of three that Vogelweide is known for. He was, writing in the 12th and 13th centuries, so it's pretty amazing that it came back. It's a fugue, which means you'll hear one voice take the melody, and then you'll hear it interwoven throughout. The second movement of the work is called Plaint, and it is a really soulful, beautiful movement, starting with an opening solo violin that just will rip your heart out. It's beautiful, and it kind of, some people say that it might have portrayed Harrison's nervous breakdown in the middle of his life. He worked very hard to promote the music of Charles Ives. In fact, was almost single-handedly the reason why Ives won the Pulitzer in 1946. But after such extreme work, it took its toll on him. And so the second movement, the Plaint, which he downplayed and said everybody likes to complain a little in his own program notes, but I think it's a little bit more than that. It's an emotional calling out of depth and despair. The third movement is Estampede, and it is this amazing, rollicking medieval dance. Shall we give an example of the rhythm at the beginning? Yeah, that's pretty cool. Because he turned the cello into a percussion instrument. which he did. He used unusual instruments for percussion all throughout his compositional career. For example, car brake drums or tuned flower pots. So here's one example. The first violin and viola trade off this great solo line. The fourth movement, Harrison was one who said, melody is the audience's take-home pay. So he was not one to write in traditional harmony that you might hear otherwise, but this one movement, the rondo, is a French Baroque movement, and it is one of the only movements he ever composed that is based on harmony. So you'll hear variation and themes going across this movement. And the last movement, Harrison was an amazing student of all things Asian and bringing all kinds of different, world music kind of influences on his music. And it was quite unusual because he was writing, in the 70s and 80s. I guess that wasn't unusual. That's when ethnomusicology really came to the fore. The last movement is a sol, it is called, and it is an ostinato, a rhythmic ostinato, again with the cello on the rhythm section, and the upper three strings playing this very haunting, almost, how would you guys describe it? Over top. Haunting's a good word. So 5 movements to Lou Harrison's string quartet set. We hope you enjoy.